Hi, ladies.
Hi, everybody.
How are you? Okay, this is month 4. We are into a really big resolution for women, probably very hard. I will stop being anxious and worrying. Easier said than done, right? I know. So why do we think that we can be God and like control other people or their decision making or the outcome of things by worrying about them? These ladies sitting here said that we could actually probably do an entire year just on this topic alone. So it's so prevalent in our daily lives. So, you know, ladies, just what are the things that you worry about the most? And I realize this is a loaded question because what I'm really asking is, what are the things that we are making our gods over leaning on our Jesus to handle them? What do you worry about?
So for me, it's the what ifs in life that you can't control, that you have no idea of. And it didn't hit me hard until honestly I had children, because until then really I could control my own little world. But now I have these 3 little hearts walking around and I can't control anything in their world. So I stopped watching negative news.
Good for you.
I only read certain things now. There's a lot of things that I give up because I can't control the things out in the world. And the things that, you know, I wish I could say I own this quote, but I don't. But the things you worry about are the things that you don't trust God with. And that really hit home with me, and that came from our pastor. And that hit home with me, and who do we trust with our kids more is God. And so I have to stop. I have to let those what ifs go that would keep you up at night. You know, another shooting at a school, or the kids getting hit at a school bus, and just all those what ifs about their safety and their happiness and all of that. You know, that's Satan working in our heads, and he's keeping us up at night. You know what? I don't get sleep as it is because my kids don't sleep. So he's not going to get my sleep, and I'm going to turn that worry over to God. Let those what ifs go and just pray about it and let it go. And that's been a big struggle. I can't say I'm perfect with it, but I work on it. Every day I work on that. You know, that I put the kids out in the world. So.
I need to work on it every day. I do not work on it every day, but I'm inspired by you, Misty. One of the things that I worry about is approval of other people's impression of my job, of things I've said, of a performance. I realize I just chew on it and I turn it over and over in my head. Did I do the right thing? Did I say it at the right time? And at the time, I think it's brilliant. And then I go home and a queasiness just keeps turning over in my stomach, and it just, I don't know, it just follows me everywhere. At work a lot, at church. Think about it with like family reunions and stuff. Should I have not said that? It was the spirit. I don't know. You know, so I have all those worries too, and it's totally internal. It's totally internal. And there's nothing I can do about it by worrying. That's the irony. Pastor Mike says worrying is, our pastor at Healing Place says, worrying is meditating on the worst possible outcome. And just like we talked about, instead of giving it to Christ or praying on it or just letting it be, it's really hard. So much easier said than done.
Yes, it is.
And for me, I'm a people pleaser. And so I just want everybody to be happy at work. I want my husband to be happy. I want my little girl to be happy. I want my parents to be happy. And the moment that I feel like I've made a mistake or didn't do something the right way or something just doesn't go as planned, I just get eaten up with anxiety. And I know when I'm struggling the most at nighttime. I feel like I can get through my days, I can power through, I can use the anxiousness almost as like energy to like do what I need to do. But then when it's time to turn it off at night, that's when I realize I have a problem because I can't turn it off. And so
That's hard.
it is hard, and it's just, you know, so I was basically praying about it and just felt him say, use your anxiety to drive you to prayer instead of action. So instead of feeling like, oh, I can't sleep, so I'm just going to get up and do something anyway, clean the house or work on emails, turn on a podcast, listen to it on headphones. And it's amazing how once I started doing that, it's like it just calmed my mind because I'm listening to something else, and then I fall asleep, and it's perfect. And I joke because after a few nights of doing that, I was just falling asleep And it's almost like the devil was like, well, I'm not going to keep her up anymore because she's just going to listen to God's word, and that's not good. So I'm just going to leave her alone. But I do think that has been something that has helped me, because nighttime is my anxious struggle time, and first thing in the morning. Sometimes I'm sleeping good and I wake up and I'm so heavy, and I'm like, what am I even heavy about? You know, and just having to start the day off by laying in bed for 10 minutes, listening to something inspirational, or the sermon from church that Sunday, or whatever it is for you. So that's kind of been my coping mechanisms, but it's just so interesting because we all have different things.
But I have a question, because sometimes when we worry about the things we cannot change, the things that have already happened, like I was talking about, it makes sense that worry should drive you to prayer. But didn't something happen in your life where, like, God used your anxiety to turn you to action, like with your little girl this summer?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I had a situation, it was my first medical scare with my little girl, and she had stopped walking, and we went and saw all the doctors if we were supposed to, and they just kept saying she would grow out of it, and my anxiousness was just like anxious, and I kept saying, I just feel like it's something more. And my husband said, don't let your anxiousness make decisions that the doctors don't think is necessary. And I just had to really pray about that. And finally, I just told God, you know, I need this to be handled, because something is telling, I don't have the peace that passes all understanding. I'm anxious. I need, you know, and so I pushed for it. It drove me to action, kind of like I talked about earlier, to get second opinions. And next thing you know, we found the source of the problem, and there actually was something wrong that we got to resolve, and we caught it like just in the nick of time. So I think sometimes, you know, especially women, we have a lot of drive, and with that drive comes a healthy dose of anxiety sometimes.
Sure.
Right.
And sometimes that anxiety is to meet a deadline because you're supposed to, or to
That's good.
push harder to advocate for your children because you're supposed to. And so sometimes my anxiety comes from not doing what I'm supposed to.
Okay.
And that's when I realize I'm being called to action, and that's the only way this is going to go away once it's resolved.
Right. Well, I know a lot of times, like, some women can get, like, you know, when something bad happens to them or happens to their family, you just get, like, stricken with fear, and you, like, shut down because of all the anxiety and worry. And so one of the questions I get, just sometimes in conversation with friends who are, like, seeking counsel, they're like, you know, I was like, okay, can we just talk about all the characters in the Bible for a second? There's not one of them I can think of that did not go through some sort of adversity. We're all going to face adversity. And that's just part of being a Christian, is that we're not promised an easy life. We are promised a life of purpose. And so I just don't recall many stories of, you know, characters in the Bible leading these charmed lives, you know, that we're all,
Easy
you know,
peasy.
looking for. So I think that helps me keep perspective when I feel overwhelmed by my circumstances.
Right.
And you know that poem, you know, Footprints in the Sand, you know, like there's two footprints, and, you know, the person's like, well, you know, why were there only one set of prints? Jesus, where did you go? And, you know, he's like, well, that's when I was carrying you.
Right.
So I like that imagery, because for me, when it comes to adversity and when it comes along, I just want to be the woman who jumps into the arms of Jesus. I just want to let him carry me when I'm feeling so downtrodden by despair or worry, or I know I cannot control the outcome. So, sister, I hope that you too can be a person that jumps into the arms of Jesus. We hope that this month's devotionals have spoken to you. We hope that you interact with us, comment, tell us your stories. Let us know how this encouraged you.
Do that on Facebook. Find us, my 12 resolutions for women. I always want to put a my in there. There's no my. 12 resolutions for women on Facebook, and on Instagram at my 12 resolutions. Just for fun, just to make things a little crazy.
And make sure you visit our website, sign up for our weekly devotionals. You can also catch any of the other devotionals that you've missed, and that's at my12resolutions.com. 12 is spelled out. That's my12resolutions.com.
And don't forget to share us with any friends or imperfect women that you have, especially if they're struggling with anxiety. We would be happy to embrace them and hear their story as well, and just help invite them to our community.
That's right. Thanks for watching. Join us again. Bye.